I'm going through the 10 states where life is on the ballot. In Montana, voters are being called on to vote no on ballot measure number 14 for CI-128. Now, this would eliminate parental notification laws for abortion, doesn't require a medical doctor to make decisions regarding the health of a pregnant mother, and erases decades of well-vetted laws to protect women in order to allow for extreme abortions at any stage of pregnancy, including late-term and partial birth abortions. Now, if voters in Montana recognize how extreme their state could become, would they still vote for this? Joining me now to discuss this is Jeff Laszloffy. He is the president of the Montana Family Foundation. Jeff, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Tony, it's good to be with you.
So tell our viewers and listeners about ballot measure number 14 there in the state of Montana, and what is at stake in this?
Well, you described it well in your opening. This is one of the most extreme abortion measures ever to be introduced in any state in the United States. It would completely change not only the abortion landscape in Montana, but would also directly impact parents, their relationships with their kids, their ability to make decisions for their children. And it would also introduce woke transgender language into the Montana Constitution and give constitutional standing to the transgender agenda. All of that is hidden in this terrible amendment.
And we've seen that elsewhere. I mean, this is a coordinated effort across the country. And I know you had some analysis of the ballot measure done in terms of its language and how it fits into the Montana Constitution. And this is a significant departure from both style, substance, and as you mentioned, the language. It doesn't talk about pregnant mothers. It talks about pregnant persons. This is a radical departure for the Montana Constitution if this were to pass.
That's correct. And the thing that's challenging for us is the fact that the Montana Supreme Court put its thumb on the scale and actually wrote the ballot language that's going to be presented to people when they go to the ballot box. The problem with that is that it bears no resemblance to what's in the actual amendment itself. They watered down the ballot language so that it sounds fairly innocuous. They talked about abortions up to the point of viability, but they don't mention that on the advice and counsel of any healthcare provider, it doesn't even need to be a licensed physician. Any healthcare provider can say that a woman needs an abortion past the point of viability, even late-term abortions up to the moment of birth, and that would be perfectly legal under this constitutional amendment.
And folks, we have a resource available for you that covers all 10 states and these measures that will be on the ballot. Simply text the word LIFE to 67742, LIFE to 67742. Maybe you don't live in a state that has this on the ballot, but you can share it with friends in states that do. Now, Jeff, this is, all across the country, they're saying, well, this just restores abortion to where it was before the Dobbs case. That's not true. This goes all the way back to Roe, to where abortion is legal all the way through birth, but it does more than that. This actually puts it into the state constitution that will keep lawmakers in the state of Montana from doing anything, whether it's parental consent laws, and if it's a right, this also could lead to taxpayer funding of elective abortions, could it not?
It could, and that's by design. So the language actually says that the legislature cannot make any laws or regulations that burden the act of abortion. Well, every single law and regulation by definition burdens the item that it's being, that's being litigated or that's being legislated. And so, of course, this is going to burden it. So this basically takes the legislature out of the picture. A moment ago, you talked about the memo that we commissioned. Professor Rob Nadelson, a constitutional law professor, wrote a memo that dug into the hidden language of the amendment and really parses the language that's in there from a legal perspective and allows the normal person like you and me to be able to understand what this law does in its entirety. And it's scary. It's really scary.
What do voters in Montana need to do, Jeff?
They need to go to montanafamily.org, get a copy of this memo. It's right there on the front page. And then they need to vote. It's important that people vote no on CI-128. We have the ability to stop this, but only if we get our friends and neighbors, our churches, and our pastors to speak out against it. The big thing is we have the chance to vote. We need to take that seriously and vote no on CI-128.
Now, Jeff, there are many people saying, well, this is so outrageous, it'll never pass. But what is the early polling showing?
The early polling is showing that it leans toward passage, but we're making up ground, and we just need to make it up more quickly. And we'll only do that if people actually turn out to the polls and vote.
All right. Well, Jeff, we appreciate all the work that you do there in Montana, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tony. It's good to see you.